The Titanic is one of those stories that never really sinks. More than a century after it vanished beneath the North Atlantic, the ship still feels strangely alive in our imagination. Part history lesson, part ghost story, part underwater time capsule. We picture the grand staircase, the first-class lounges, the frozen night, the lifeboats, and of course that famous bow cutting through the darkness like the front porch of a legend. But the latest expedition to the wreck brought back something more surprising than another gloomy look at decay. It found a long-missing bronze statue that many feared was gone forever, while also showing that one of the most recognizable parts of the ship has finally broken away. Before we start, drop us a comment. Tell us what you think should matter more at Titanic's wreck site today: preserving artifacts for history or leaving everything exactly where it lies. A new Titanic expedition just discovered something nobody expected to find: the lost goddess.
All right, well, take a look at this. A bronze statue from the Titanic is among the discoveries made by the company with salvage rights to the wreck site on its first expedition there in many years.
For years, the bronze statue, known as Diana of Versailles, sat near the top of Titanic researchers' wish list. It was not huge, only about 2 feet tall, but on the ship it had once held a place of real importance. Diana stood in the first-class lounge, a room designed to impress the wealthiest passengers on board. That lounge was not just a sitting area. It was part of Titanic's floating theater of luxury, where wealth, taste, and confidence all blended together. The statue helped complete that image. It was classical, elegant, and exactly the kind of detail meant to remind passengers they were traveling on something extraordinary. After the ship broke apart and settled roughly 2.5 miles beneath the surface, Diana disappeared into the debris field. It was photographed in 1986, but after that it seemed to vanish again. For nearly 40 years, nobody had a clear, updated view of it. That's what made the rediscovery so exciting. The expedition did not recover the statue, but it found it and photographed it clearly for the first time in decades. In a place where the ocean slowly erases almost everything, one little bronze figure had somehow survived the darkness. Needle in the deep.
The odds of anyone coming across it, virtually non-existent. It is a needle in a haystack.
Finding Diana was not like spotting a chair in someone's attic. The debris field around Titanic is enormous, dark, uneven, and cluttered with objects scattered during the sinking. Searching it is closer to looking for a dropped coin in a blacked-out stadium, except the stadium is underwater and crushingly deep. The 2024 expedition used unmanned vehicles, high-resolution cameras, and scanning equipment far beyond what earlier missions had available. RMS Titanic Inc. had not visited the wreck since 2010, so the difference in technology was enormous. In ocean exploration terms, 14 years is a lifetime. The team spent about 20 days at the site and captured more than 2 million images. That number matters because Titanic is not only being photographed for curiosity, it's being documented while it still exists in recognizable form. The statue was found with only hours left in the expedition. The detail gives the whole discovery a dramatic edge. After days of searching, the ship offered up one more surprise almost at the last possible moment. The bow changes.
Titanic's face has completely changed and an entire section of railing is missing. It's like taking an eyebrow off of the Mona Lisa.
That was James Penka, a researcher and spokesperson with RMS Titanic Inc., and he put the change in exactly the kind of terms Titanic followers understand. The bow is not just another part of the wreck. For many people, it is the Titanic's face. It's the image they remember from documentaries, books, deep sea footage, and of course, James Cameron's film. So when a section of that railing finally broke away, it was a little like seeing damage on a famous portrait everyone thought they knew by heart. The expedition found that a major section of railing from the ship's famous bow had fallen away and was now resting on the ocean floor below. This came from the port side of the forecastle deck, right near the prow, that has become one of the most photographed parts of the wreck. Reports describe the fallen section as roughly 15 feet long. On a ship as massive as Titanic, that may sound small, but visually it changes one of the most familiar views in maritime history. What makes it even more striking is how recently that railing was still standing. Images from previous surveys showed it intact as recently as 2022. That means this was not some ancient change nobody noticed for decades. It happened within a very small window of time, which shows just how active the decay still is down there. The wreck may look frozen in place, but it's still shifting, weakening, and giving up pieces of itself to the deep. That's the strange mix of this expedition. It gave researchers the thrill of finding the long-lost Diana statue, but it also delivered a hard reminder that Titanic is not waiting politely for history to catch up. The ship is still changing in real time. It can still reveal things no one expected to find, but it can also lose something iconic between one visit and the next. Rust and pressure.
Titanic is slowly returning to nature, being dissolved by bacteria.
Titanic's decay is not mysterious. The wreck has spent more than 100 years in freezing saltwater under immense pressure. Its iron and steel are being eaten away by bacteria that create those hanging rust formations, often called rusticles. Those rusticles give the ship its haunted look, almost like it's melting. They're beautiful in a gloomy way, but they're also evidence of destruction. The wreck is not frozen in time. It's an active environment where chemistry, biology, and pressure are slowly winning. Wood, fabric, and many organic materials vanished long ago or survive only in unusual conditions. Metals last longer, but they do not last forever. Bronze objects like Diana can endure better than iron structures, which helps explain how the statue could remain while railings weaken. So researchers are not only taking dramatic pictures, they're building a record of the wreck's condition so future experts can compare, measure, and understand what is changing before more of it disappears. A site under watch.
We run the whole thing with this game controller.
Come on! So it seems like a lot of the way you made this is by taking off-the-shelf parts and sort of MacGyvering them together.
Yeah, pretty much.
Does that not raise anybody's eyebrows in the industry?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, no, I'm definitely an outlier.
The expedition also took place in the shadow of the Titan submersible disaster, which killed 5 people in June 2023. One of them was Paul-Henri Narguillet, a longtime Titanic expert and director of underwater research for RMS Titanic Inc. His death gave the mission a heavier emotional weight. Unlike tourist dives, this expedition used unmanned vehicles. That matters because the wreck is dangerous, remote, and unforgiving. Titanic sits in a part of the ocean where mistakes are not easily corrected. The company has said the new data may help identify historically important artifacts that are at risk. That brings back a debate that has followed Titanic for decades. Should objects be brought up and preserved, or should the site remain untouched as a grave and memorial? There's no simple answer. Diana's rediscovery makes the question even sharper. If the statue stays below, it remains part of the wreck's story. If it's recovered someday, it could be studied, protected, and seen by people who will never travel 2.5 miles into the Atlantic. Now it's time to hear from you. If you were in charge of the Titanic wreck site, would you recover fragile artifacts like the Diana statue before they're lost, or would you leave everything on the ocean floor out of respect for the people who died there? Let us know in the comments section below.